Do you ever feel like a little blah? It's not depression, maybe it's a little bit of anxiety. But in my case, for example, I'm an athlete and sometimes I get injured. In this case, I dislocated my shoulder, tore my labrum, had surgery, and I'm off the ice for a pretty long time. I like to give credit where credit is due. For me, one book that changed my life is The Miracle Morning. The morning routine in the book is called Savers. S stands for silence and 5 to 10 minutes praying or meditating. A stands for affirmations, 10 minutes repeating great things about yourself. V is for visualization. E is for exercise. Walk, getting your heart rate up, moving, doing yoga. R is for reading. S is for scribing, where you spend 5 to 10 minutes journaling. I created my own savers. And this is based on the previous 2 injuries and what I have found to actually work for me. I'm going to write a quick blog post with all of the resources that I have discovered for each of these so that you can explore which one works for you. As I've said before, I subscribe to the experiment-driven life. What works for me is not going to be the same thing that works for you. However, what we're trying to do is trying to raise the level of the neurotransmitters in your brain so that you don't fall to dopamine imbalance or serotonin imbalance, which typically lead to that feeling of depression and anxiety, loss of control. You've got this. This is my routine of the things that I have done every single time that have worked to keep me in tip-top shape, mentally, physically, and I'm able to recover, come back, be stronger, and achieve all of the things that I was able to achieve pre-injury and even better. This is backed by science, and so we're going to go ahead and get started. First is sleep. I try to hit a minimum of 8 hours of sleep. It's not 8 hours, it gets a red button. Next is silence. This is where you spend at least 10 minutes either meditating, you can do breath work. I personally have used this time to journal because I have a difficult time expressing my feelings. So journaling is actually something I do not enjoy doing, even though I'm a writer. Breath work. I have been using this device called AeroFit. I've only been using it for about a week, but what I love about it is you can see it has these little dials on the side, and it makes breathing, depending on the exercise, inhale or exhale, a little bit more difficult. Exercise. This is going to look different for every single person. Me, obviously, I am missing a shoulder. I use a heart rate monitor and I try to hit zone 2 cardio and stay in that zone 2 for at least 30 to 45 minutes. Science behind like the lactate threshold and all other stuff that I honestly have no qualifications to talk about at all whatsoever. I can do with my legs, so I try to make sure that I hit every single muscle underneath my waist, including my core. Mobility. I tend to get really tight. I am hypermobile, which is how I dislocated my shoulder. But as you get older, people who are hypermobile end up having kind of feeling like a lot extra tightness. And the reason why is because our body is so unstable in a joint, at the joint level, that the muscles around actually have to kind of clamp down and get tight. Nutrition. I've played around with lots of different types of ways of approaching this problem. As you know, I'm a big advocate of continuous glucose monitor, and track all of my food. In the past, I have played around with calories and macros. A goal that I knew I could hit, which was just be accountable, be honest with yourself, track down and write down everything that you're eating. So at the end of the day, you're not in denial about how much you're eating. And visualization, I have shared what I do here, which is my mind movie. I make a mind movie. It's typically about 5 minutes long. I at least try to watch it once, which then meets the criteria. I want you to know that your mind and your body actually do not know the difference between reality and illusion. So mindset. I've been using an app called Pep Talk. I listen to Pep Talk actually while I'm working out. I basically get yelled at by David Goggins. And the last one is joy spotting. So I have a lot to say about this, and you're probably wondering, why is gratitude not on this list? For me, I found gratitude to be extremely depressing. I mean, I have so much to be grateful for. However, even though I achieved all those things, I couldn't really feel proud of myself or feel grateful, because when you're kind of sad and hopeless, like, the things are going well for you. If that was the fix, like, everybody could snap out of their depression or hopelessness. Forces you to get out of your comfort zone, out of your house, out of your normal tunnel vision of seeing the world and looking for something that brings you joy. Medicine for the soul. One thing I have learned, that consistency matters more than anything else. In order for you to get through any kind of injury, depression episode, anxiety, and come out of it without any regret, is to do the thing that you know is going to make you better. Seeing those little green check marks, right? That's a dopamine hit. Checking things off a box, that's a dopamine hit. You can train your brain to actually get these little dopamine hits throughout the day. One of my favorite professors gave me some advice. Live your life with a sense of urgency. And I don't feel like I have always done that. And I've read a lot and I did a lot of things, but nothing ever seemed to work. If you're kind of struggling with what to do next, I want you to imagine yourself and close your eyes. And I want you to think about what would happen if you were not given the time that you think you're going to have. What do I have to do? What do I have to say? David Goggins talks about this and says, to him, he imagines that he basically dies and he goes to heaven. And God tells him, all right, this is who you could have been. He wants to make sure that he gets to heaven and God is like, well, Goggins, I had no idea you can do all of this. Kind of going to go back to this whole experiment-driven life. Experiment-driven life, which is how I live my life, is I make a hypothesis about what I think is going to happen, and then I test against that hypothesis. You want to make those changes incrementally. Otherwise, it's really hard to know what's going to work for you. You see that something's not working, pivot. Try something different. Not going to look the same for you. It's not going to look the same for me. It's something that you have to experiment. I use a lot of data to sort of validate whether things are working for me or not. I use an Oura ring, track my HRV, looking at metrics every day to see what's working.
Thanks so much for watching. If you found this information helpful, please subscribe to my YouTube channel or my Medium blog.